Some people would join. We typically have people join from like anytime from now, really. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Maya. You're welcome to the Traveling Beyond the Label event today. We are talking about mental health, which is obviously your baby and your focus. I like to give people the backstory of how I know Maya. Well, Dr. Maya now, but Maya is what we used to call her. For those of us that came to London at one point in our life from like the late 90s or early 2000, that was where I met Maya. We were in the same church, and she's still as pretty as she was back then. A combination of beauty and brains. I mean, I'm so excited to have her talk to us today about mental health because this is definitely something that impacts children, it impacts youth, it impacts adults, but the focus for us is children and youths. Our community is traveling beyond the label. We're a community of parents and carers raising neurodivergent children. But this event, we've opened it up to people from different backgrounds. So we're expecting people from different places. And to give you, for those that haven't read her profile, she has a company called Train a Child. She's the founder of Train a Child Limited. Dr. Maya has created tools that nurture emotional intelligence and resilience in children. She has a product called My Big Emotions Journal, which offers daily check-ins that guide children through understanding and managing their feelings, including engaging prompts and practical strategies. Dr. Maya Okeowo is a dedicated advocate for children's mental health and emotional well-being. She has a PhD in children's rights and childhood studies, hence the doctor. She develops innovative and educational resources that support children, educators, parents, and healthcare professionals. Her mission is to make preventive mental health education accessible and impactful, complementing traditional therapeutic methods. So she's a mother, she's definitely a parent. She's based in Canada, so she's made a lot of sacrifice to be here today. I'm so excited to have you. Um, we're open to the event is open, so you can start with the talk, then later on we can have a Q&A session where more people join. So over
Excellent.
to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so, so much, Eniola, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, everybody. Maya Kelwo. So I'm really honored to join you today to explore a topic, as Eniola said, is my baby. It's really close to my heart. It's empowering children to thrive in a world of big emotions. As parents and educators, you're already experts at navigating the beautiful yet messy journey of raising children. But when neurodiversity is part of that journey, the emotional landscape can feel like uncharted territory, uncharted waters. So today we'll explore practical, evidence-based strategies to help children manage their big emotions and build resilience. Let's get started. So I'm just going to turn that on very quickly and share my slides with you. All right. Okay. Okay. So nurturing emotional well-being in children. I like that word nurturing because nurturing is basically the very act of parenting, of mothering, really. It's about taking a seed, knowing that I want that seed to become this tree, and taking time and effort. And when we nurture a tree or a seedling, it's not I've told you time and I've told you before. It's I'm telling you, and I will tell you again, and I will keep telling you, and I'm going to continue to encourage you, and I'm going to do all I can to protect you in that thing, right? That's what parenting is. And so when we talk of big emotions and we talk of nurturing our children's emotions, we need to have that at the back of our minds. We're going to keep doing it and keep doing it. And we are going to mirror that. We're going to model that ourselves. So today I want us to learn so that we can know for ourselves, so that we can know for our children to teach them and to model those actions and those what I'm going to call when we have I'm going to give you an emotional toolkit. I want us to keep modeling that for our children and use that to nurture them. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with a fundamental truth.
Sorry, Dr. Maya, bear with me. It could just be that the slides is not showing up properly.
Okay.
Do you want to stop sharing? It was sharing properly, and now
Is it better
it's
now?
better. Yeah, it's better.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Is it still good?
No, it's better now.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
excellent.
better now. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Right. Okay. When you have a headache, right? So we're talking about emotions, right? Emotions are valid. Emotions are not something that we need to put aside for. We're talking about it just before we started, Eniola and I, and in our Afro-Caribbean or wherever culture you're from, for many of us growing up, emotions were something that, yes, we had, but we weren't supposed to talk about it or share it or even act on. But when we have a headache, our headache tells us that we're tired, we're dehydrated, we're hungry, something is going on somewhere else, and we need to pay attention to it. That's what emotions are to our bodies. And particularly, again, with neurodivergent children, the intensity of emotional experiences can be heightened. So for many of us, we need to break that cycle with our children so that generations coming after us can understand emotions and use it to our advantage. Now for a little brain science. To truly support children, we need to start by understanding our amazing brains. Think of the brain like a house with two distinct floors. The upstairs brain, the cerebral cortex, which is our thinker. This is where logic, problem solving, and decision making happen. It's the part of our brain that asks, how do I solve this puzzle? What's the kindest way to respond to this? It's calm, it's curious, it's deliberate. That's our upstairs brain. Then there's our downstairs brain, the brainstem, the limbic system. This is our survivor. It handles automatic reactions like our breathing, our blinking, and our fight, flight, freeze response. If I touch a birthday candle, it's the downstairs brain that tells me to pull my hand away even before I process the pain. So it's fast, it's fierce, and it's focused on keeping us safe. Now, here's the catch. When our child feels overwhelmed, whether from sensory overload, frustration, or fear, it's their downstairs brain that's taking over, that is saying, you're tired, pull away, you're hungry, scream. The automatic, harsh, more readily involved part of our brain. And what happens when our downstairs brain is triggered? I'll explain that word trigger again later. When our downstairs brain is triggered, it begins to heat up. And when it does, it heats up so much that that upstairs brain, that's supposed to be the logical thinking part of our brains, almost shuts off. And that overpowering, overwhelming part of our brain, the downstairs brain, practically shuts off, shoots up the upstairs brain. So it's like a pot. If you think of a pressure cooker, right? The upstairs brain is the lid. The downstairs brain is the body of the pot. When we're overwhelmed or when we're triggered, that by something, which is like maybe the fire under the pot, our downstairs brain flips up the upstairs brain. So we stop thinking and we're reacting instead on instinct. I'll give you an example. When I was growing up in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria, we lived close to a jungle. We called it a jungle. It must have been whatever sort of wilderness area we lived near in Okwebi, in Ikeja. And for some reason, we got lots of snakes coming down our house, whether it's in my brother's shoe, don't ask, or it's on the bathroom door, or it's behind the cooker. We just always had a situation where somebody said, oh, snake. And so I grew up with a fear of snake, naturally. It got so bad that watching a snake on a TV was triggering for me. Have that in mind, and I'll explain again why that happened. There is hope for people like me. The brain is like a muscle. with practice, we can help children strengthen their upstairs brain. So for me, even though I knew that this snake was on a TV screen, right? My upstairs brain would have been telling me, it's a TV screen. It can't hurt you, right? But my downstairs brain was reacting with all the reactions I could ever have. This is a snake, run, you're unsafe. Okay, this is how I explain it to children. The brain is like a library, a huge library that banks every single incident in your life from when you were born. The first time you tasted ice cream to the first time you went into a pool. It also banks your feeling around those incidents. The first time you had ice cream and you thought, oh, it's cold, it banks it. And it labels ice cream cold. When you get into a pool and your African mother says, be careful, your brain banks pool unsafe, right? And that's when we think about that, it's why even at 30, you get into a pool and you shiver because your brain has banked pool unsafe. So when we say Black people don't swim, it's Black people's parents say swimming is unsafe. And so we build what we call a traumatic response to things because our brain is seeing it. And every time it happens, our brain says unsafe. Our brain says unsafe. And the more it happens, the more that part of our brain is strengthened. It's unsafe. So when we think about that with our children, let's be more mindful about how we talk about it. You go on a ride on a ride. Your child is not afraid. As they say, fear is learned behavior. When your child starts to get afraid of something, you need to stop and check what have they learned? What's happened to make them learn that new information? I go ahead of myself. So, like I said, there's hope for people like us. The brain is like a muscle. With practice, we can weaken and help our children develop and strengthen their upstairs brain, teaching them that to stay calm and engaged, even when their downstairs brain is screaming danger, especially when it's everyday situations. Because like I said, your brain banks every incident and labels it safe or unsafe, right? And that is good. If you saw a bear in the woods, your brain will say to you, stand still. Depends on what you learned. If you learned a few weeks ago that you're supposed to run, your brain will say, yeah, run. But if you learn that your brain say you're supposed to stand still because there's a bear going past, your brain will say, stay still. Again, what you learn, the information you know. If I watched a movie yesterday about end of days or I don't know, vampires, right? I'm like, it's just a movie, no big deal. I wasn't afraid. And then the next day, my friend comes with a vampire mask and screams, I will jump. Because the day before, I learned that vampires are scary. But for a person who doesn't think they're scary, they wouldn't jump. That's how the brain works. So let's, again, be mindful of that. So we talked about triggers. Triggers are like invisible, well, triggers are like, this is the brain when it flips, we flip our lid. So flip our lid is a phrase I'm going to use quite often here. We flip our lid means we get overwhelmed by emotions. So when we talk about triggers, they are invisible, I call them wire traps, hidden sparks that ignite overwhelming emotions. For neurodivergent children, or for some of us, these sparks often come in the form of sensory overload. So triggers are our brain's way of protecting us, and they do so by automatically, our downstairs brain deciding whether we need to fight back, whether we need to run away or freeze. This is great when we're actually in danger, but sometimes our brain gets overly sensitive or excited and they trigger us even when we're safe, like my snake situation. We couldn't even say snake growing up in my house because apparently if you call snakes, they're going to come. So we had to say S growing up. And so I had to learn, I'm learning that yes, the snake is on TV, But my downstairs brain is trying to protect me, to keep me safe by telling me to run or to hide out. We can train our brains to react differently to triggers by learning to manage our emotions better. And the more we do this, the more we tell our brains, the more we strengthen our upstairs brain to say, that is not it, that I am safe. This is not an unsafe situation. Your brain begins to bank. And don't forget, the longer you've had a fear of or a trigger of something, the longer it's going to take for you to get over that and get to a point where you feel safe from it. It's taken me many years, many years to realize that a snake on a TV my brain now better understands that a snake on a TV screen is still a safe place for me. Right. So our bodies constantly send us signals to warn us when our emotions are getting too big. And when the brain tells us, it tells us using signals. Sometimes you might feel tingles on your hands, which I used to feel. I grew up with anxiety. Maybe from the snake matter, who knows? But we saw too many snakes. If I had to sit down to count them, I'm sure I can write a book about snakes by now. So, but when I feel triggered, when I feel upset, or when I feel unsettled, overwhelmed by something, my tummy hurts. I feel tingles on my hands and feet. My heart pounds loudly in my chest. I have palpitations. I sometimes feel dizzy. For someone else, their hearts they might feel sad. They might have butterflies in their tummy. Those are triggers. And those are your body telling you you're about to have an overwhelming emotion. You're about to flip your lid. You might have a headache. Your face might feel flushed. So now imagine a child with sensory overload in a noisy classroom, surrounded by scraping chairs and constant chatter of people tapping and people calling the names and the flickering lights. Imagine if that's your home, where we African Caribbean parents are always like, what happened? Tell me now, what's going on? We use our hands and we talk with our faces. I'm not angry, but you're shouting, your voices are elevated. Think of a child with sensory overload in that sort of environment. And so I want to give you a task to do, maybe later today when you get home or whilst you're at home with your child. I want you to ask your child where they feel overwhelming emotions in their body. I call it spotting it. Where do you spot it? When your child gets upset, ask them before you started to cry, where did you feel that? Spot it. They might tell you, my face felt flushed and I knew the tears were coming, my eyes were stinging. Tell them to tell you. And then the more they notice those things, the more they'll be able to catch themselves before a tantrum. You'll be able to catch. Some children ball up their hands, their fists, when they're upset. Before they give that, they kick. Before they punch the other child or smack the other child, they do that first. You can see that their shoulders are hunched. That is when you tell them, okay, calm down. You're about to flip your lid. So we're talking about how to help children, how to teach them to cool down their emotions before they get too overwhelming. And this is why I focused my work on preventive care as opposed to waiting until now that child has issues, we're going to see a therapist. I focused my work on what I call daily vitamins. Before there becomes a problem, why don't we teach children so that they don't get into therapy? Why wait until they're messed up in their emotions and then we take them into therapy? Why not teach them what they're going to learn in therapy anyway? Why not teach them to build healthy habits, emotional habits, so that before the child feels, oh, I'm depressed, something led to that depression. You were sad long enough. You were unhappy long enough before you got into depression or before you got into anxiety. Anxiety doesn't happen overnight. It builds up. So what was happening to the child before? What were the telltale signs that the children need to be aware of, that parents, teachers, educators, carers need to be aware of before the child gets into full-blown anxiety disorder, right? So we need to have these conversations more often so that we're more aware of these things. So when a child covers their ears or retreats under a desk or they're not acting out, they're telling you that their brains can't process whatever's happening right now. They're telling you that they're feeling overwhelmed. It's a flight mode. They're running away from something. So don't take it that you're being disrespectful. No, check what's the underlying emotion behind what's happening. And like I said, we need to begin to teach our children. We need to become a normal conversation in your home. Like, oh, why do you feel like that? Oh, I get it. Let it be something that you discuss normal, that becomes a normal reaction for them to tell you, and then you also model it. I have a I have a work presentation. Oh gosh, I feel very overwhelmed. I'm going to let it be. This is what's happening. This is how it's making me feel physically. Oh, my tummy hurts. You've spotted it. And then you can tell them how you're going to get over it. Or I'm going to do breathing exercise. We're going to come to those, your toolbox in a little bit. Right. I'm going to try and fast track with my stuff now. So what does these modes look like for many children? Because I want you to be able to recognize it in your child. Flight mode. The brain is telling them, run away. This is unsafe. And they react usually by screaming. When a child screams, sometimes don't look at it as, oh, it's a tantrum. They're trying to have their way. Check. Is it a flight mode? Is when they're hyper, when they use unkind words, what are they saying? What's their emotion saying to you, mom, dad? When a child feels restless, when they're feeling anxious, are they trying to escape a situation? When they say, I don't want to go, why? There's something behind that. It's an emotion telling you something. When they shut down emotionally, we talk about that with teenagers a lot. Teenagers just stay in their rooms. They don't want to, how are you? Fine. What's going on? I'm good. Check. What is the emotion behind that freeze mode? Right. So we're going to begin to problem solve these things. Investigate them. I have this emotion, they have this emotion. What is it? What is the practical motivation or reason for this thing? Okay, so like I said, our bodies are like messengers. They send us signals before we get the intense feeling. They're red flags, physical red flags that alert us that we're about to flip our lid. So we're going to go to toolbox. Coping strategies. We've learned that when our downstairs brain feels overwhelmed with emotions, it heats up, causing us to act without thinking. So what we need to be focused on doing is to find creative ways to cool down before we flip our lids. Logical reasoning at that point will not work. The downstairs brain is an automatic reaction. It will react, it will make the decision for you. So before we get into that point where we flip our lid, whilst the pot, think of the pot again, whilst you touch it is warm, the particles are moving around. You can probably hear it boiling. You can see it boiling. It's getting hotter. Things are happening before the lid is flipped. We're talking about that part, almost like slowing. I tell children, slow down, like put yourself on slow-mo. What happened before then? And I'm big on journaling because that's a great way for you to be able to write down. I've just flipped my lid. Now go write down what happened. This happened. How did it make me feel? This, where can I spot it? Here. What could I have done instead of hitting that person, instead of screaming down the house? I could have. And this is where we're going to talk about this box that you should have as parents and you should be nurturing in your children. So very quickly, I start with taking a break. I call it a self-imposed timeout. Self-imposed. I need timeout. I need time by myself. This isn't a punishment, but is a proactive pause, a reset button for the brain and for the body. For neurodivergent children, It's a break that can be a lifeline when sensory and emotional input becomes overwhelming. So why do we need breaks and why does it work? When our emotions are surging, the downstairs brain hijacks rational thinking. It says, I just want to punch you because when I punch you, it makes me feel safe. That's what your brain is telling you. So don't think, you just keep punching. There's something in them that makes them feel like my brain is telling me, I just need to hit you. Why? Are they seeing it at home a lot? When you do it to them, when a mom or dad hits a child, the mom is shouting, you're screaming, why would you have done that to this person? Then you hit, then you calm down. You're teaching your child's brain that when they hit, they feel safe. When I've smacked you, then I can say, oh yeah, go to your room, and the mommy goes to watch TV. You are teaching your child that is safe mode. I hit you, and then I calm down. So let's again think about those things. So taking a break is like pressing pause on a chaotic situation, giving the downstairs brain, or more like giving the upstairs brain time to re-engage, to tell you, you really shouldn't hit because you're going to hurt the other person and you're going to get into trouble. So that pause, you go sit down and you think, I really shouldn't do that. So teach your children that. I'm parent again, model it, right? You can try counting down from 10 to 1. You can try listening to music that, just saying, you know what, I can't do this right now, and walk away. Go for a walk. Don't make decisions. Don't flip your lid. Don't scream at the child. Just say, you know what, we will deal with this thing before bedtime because you need to go away. You need to calm down and then come back with, okay, you did something wrong and this is how we're going to handle it without flipping your own lead. So normalize that need in your house as well. For children, it's great to give them a breakout space, a few cushions somewhere in the living room, put a book, put mindfulness coloring. I have a few on Amazon because I find that with my children, it's great. Have a ready supply of coloring pencils or, and let them be able to sit down and work quietly. That is, again, pausing. Life is not how we had it when we were younger, right? There's so many things out there grabbing their attention. Their brains are learning at phenomenal speed because there's so much to take in. You need that. All they have is 12 colors, a book, a little bit of music, and they can reset for a few minutes. Use your words. Again, therapy. This is what therapy is about. Use your words. Help your child talk through the situation. Yes, mommy, yes, daddy, you saw it happen. Ask your child, tell me what happened. No, tell me in your words what happened. Emotional intelligence. Help them articulate their words. Help them understand, I was feeling, oh, okay, Janie took my toy. Yes, you're crying. Okay, calm down. Okay, finish crying. Okay, now tell me what happened. How did it make you feel? It made me feel, tell me, frustrated. Well done. They need to have those words to say. I felt not, I didn't like it. No, yes, but how did it make you feel? Give me a word. I suggest those, you find them everywhere. I'm going to be able to, well, I can send Eniola one of those for you guys, because I know you have to pay for it on Etsy and everything, that has the emotions that your child can say, did you feel this way? No. This way, angry? No. This way. No, I felt upset. They can point to the word and say, I felt quite upset. I felt very frustrated, very irritated. Using those words, they're going to need it in the future. They're going to need it if they go into therapy. So why not teach them that now so they don't have to go into therapy and say, I just couldn't articulate how I was feeling, right? And debrief your children. When they come out from school, don't say, how was school? What are they're going to say, fine. Did you have a good day? They're going to say, yes. So no, use open-ended questions. Tell me 3 people you played with today. Name 2 activities you did today. Give them reason to talk about it. Let it look like you're interested. Not, I ask now, how was school? They say, fine. You need to ask the questions. They see that you're interested in what they're doing at school, but I can assure you that after a while, you're going to say, it's enough. Because they're going to start to feel like, mommy, daddy are interested. I want to tell them everything that happened today and be ready to listen. Right, so this next one is going to be something we're going to do together. So deep breathing. A lot of people understand deep breathing is necessary, but a lot of us don't know how to do it. So very, very quickly, we have 30 seconds. I'm going to take, if you're, I know most of us have our videos off, but if you can do it at some point, please do. So just to show you how to do it so you can help your child do it correctly, right? So we're going to sit comfortably, like watching you. Your hands, put both, no, you can't see me, I wish I could stand up, right? Close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. Place one or both hands on your belly, like maybe right between your ribs, bottom of your rib cage if you can, just so you know how if you're feeling, right? Now inhale slowly through your nose. And this is the part people always get wrong. When you inhale, a lot of people, we breathe in, we pull our tummy in. Children almost every single time do that when I check. When they say breathe in, they breathe, oh, like your tummy should come out when you breathe in. When you breathe in, your tummy should inflate like a balloon. So when breathing, imagine you're smelling a beautiful flower. Imagine that you're breathing in something really nice. Breathe in, inhale, feel your chest fill with air and your belly rise under your hands like a balloon expanding. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. 2, 3, 4. And then exhale through your mouth, through pursed lips. Just teach your children that. You'd find them doing that when you least expect it. Like before you say the wrong thing. It gives your brain, again, another pause that says, I'm safe. I'm safe. When you're unsafe, we go, that's not breathing in. Your brain says you're not safe. But when you breathe slowly, when you breathe in and out slowly, your brain thinks, actually, they're fine. You're tricking your downstairs brain to believe that you're fine. So teach that to your child. It's that relaxing. It relaxes all of you, really. And teach your children to pair it with affirmations. I am safe. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm safe. You're waking up your upstairs brain to re-engage. Oh yeah, we're safe. You're telling it, I'm safe. That's what a prayer does as well. It's a prayer. And I don't know what your belief system is for those of you that are here, but I find that when I use a scripture, when I can say something that I already know, and that's what meditation, again, I digress. Meditation is strengthening your upstairs brain. I know this. I know this. I've done my homework. I've learned this. So when rubber hits the road, when there's a situation, when there's a trigger, you don't need alerting your upstairs brain is not as problematic as if you don't have that system in the first place. So, right. Very quickly again, grounding techniques. It's another one that children tend to like because it's an activity. So please, moms, dads, learn it yourself. What it is, very quickly, is it's grounding is anchoring yourself in the present moment. Because when you have big emotions, your mind, you have racing thoughts, your minds are going here and there. You need to come back to now. I'm safe. Look, and I'm talking about this toolkit is for when your brain goes into overdrive and you're actually safe, right? The sensitive parts of the brain science, right? So it's saying 5. It says find or notice 5 things that you can see. Right, so you can see how that can actually be a distraction from the overwhelming emotion. So you can say, I see a window, I see a teacup, a plant, the sun is shining through the window. It says, notice 4 things that you can feel. Tune into your body, your feet on the floor, your watch on your wrist, the texture of your clothes, right? It says, notice 3 things that you can hear. The hum of your computer, distant traffic, the sound of your voice. Notice 2 things you can smell. Fresh laundry, it could be anything around you. And 1 thing you can taste. It could be gum, mint in your mouth, right? And what it does for children, it serves as a welcome distraction to the stress buildup. The power of journaling and gratitude. A big one for me. I've always been one to journal. And I found that for many times, I don't know how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking until I read what I've written. We call it, I went deep into it one time, and it says, give yourself a brain dump every once in a while. Just write it. It doesn't matter. Don't read it. Don't articulate it. Get the paper out, get the pen out, and just have a brain dump. Wait a little bit and then read what you've written. You'll be surprised at how you felt about something or how you feel about yourself, So I do that quite often. And with children, it's building that habit in them. It's brain training. When children put pen to paper, they're activating their brain's problem-solving hub whilst calming themselves as well. When we pair it with a gratitude journal, we're finding ways to appreciate our present moment, no matter how dark it is. We're shining light into our situation. I'm going to go very, very quickly and move on to, actually, before I do that, for people who find it difficult to start journaling, there's a way you can start. It says rose, thorn, bud, a flower, right? We're approaching spring. And it says, the rose, write 1 good thing that happened to you that day. This is a good thing that happened to me today. Thorn, what was the challenge? Is there a challenge? Write the challenge as well. Bud, what is the ray of hope you can find? Write that as well. So if you think about it, rose, thorn, bud, you can actually write what's happened to you in that day. And then you can begin to expand on that as you go along. Positive affirmations. I mentioned that very, very briefly earlier. It's important to be able to say to your brain that you're safe. And the more you do it, I am brave. Some parents would put it on their children's mirror, picture frames in the rooms. I'm feeling this, but I am patient. I'm feeling this, but I can do it. Changing the channel is very quick. There is a thought, should I say, there's a thought that goes behind the big emotion. It's usually a very nagging, racing thought that begins with a suggestion. When you notice this negative thought, I tell children, change the channel in your mind. Choose to think positive thoughts instead. And affirmation cards are great in helping us to do that. So as I wrap up, I want us to remember that these habits that we're forming are like building a path in a forest. The first time the forest is overgrown and it's hard for us to navigate it. But as a practice, we're building neural pathways for our children that will be good for them in the future. I have a journal called Big Emotion Journal, but you can use any journal. And I wanted to show you what other children have said when they used journals in the past, right? This journal asked this child, are you having negative thoughts? And she says, and her response is, I am not just a good goalkeeper. And so the next part is challenge your mind bully by writing down 5 affirmations. And she writes this, I get better every single day. If I fail, I will try again. I'll work hard and I'll excel always. I can do hard things. Good things will happen to me. This is a child who's saying, she's found a thing, or he, I'm not sure, I don't know. A school sent this to me. And he says, the kids are learning that when they have a challenge, they can deal with it. It's another one. I don't think I can win. But the same child in the same day is able to say, I work hard and excel always. I think that's awesome. Today, I will be kind to myself. Another one, big emotions I felt today. I was not happy. What did you do? I took a deep breath and I joined in, whatever sport. It says, because sport was so, what triggered it? Sport was so boring and I was hungry. So this is children who are learning at school for this to acknowledge that they have emotions, to name the emotion, to spot the emotion, and to understand when they're about to flip their lid, and to instead use tools from their toolbox to cool down their emotions before they get to an overwhelming situation. Gratitude space. What are you thankful for? I like this one, obviously, that I'm learning this big emotions journal, right? So I want to say very quickly to parents, carers, educators, whoever you are watching this, that children are resilient, but resilience needs to be built, and habits, daily habits. What again I said, daily vitamins. It needs to be cultivated, nurtured in them. We're building a future where children know that they have these tools and they can thrive. So I'm going to stop here. It's like I can keep going.
Wow.
Eniola, thank you.
Wow, Mayowa, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for joining. Sorry, most of you joined when we were neck deep. Dr. Maya, I gave an introduction about her. She's the founder of Train a Child. Her website is trainachild.com. You can get all some of her resources, the journal she talked about. So basically, thank you all. We are now in the Q&A session. If you have any question, please throw. Dr. Maya is ready to take the questions. And you're welcome, Mr. Olugbenga. I'm personally welcoming you. Thank you for joining us because I understand you are a very old friend of Dr. Maya. Thank you for joining us. So the floor is open. For, you can ask her anything. While you're thinking, I have a quick question because I'm also mindful that, the community traveling beyond the labor community is a parent for carers. It's a community of parents and carers of neurodivergent children. And some of our children are a lot younger, and some
Hmm.
of them are not using their words right now, and they're still in the process of gaining speech and language. So what tools you talked briefly about the emotion chart. What
Yes.
tools can children that are still learning to express themselves and speak, what tools do you recommend that they can use?
Okay.
That we
Excellent.
parents can use or teach them to use?
Teach to enable them. Right. So yes, that's a very good question. For the younger children, it's important that before they get the words, they build the language to use. We can get flashcards. Flashcards are
Mm,
excellent to use because all we need first is for them to be able to identify an emotion. What
mm,
is an angry face? Right? An angry face, every child knows. And sometimes we showing them, do you mean this? Do you mean this? You know what this, and then you want to get them to smile. When you're angry, they frown. When you smile, they smile. So you want to check that they're understanding the different types of emotions. And flashcards are a great way to do that. And they have some um, very, should I say, useful smart cards. This I'm sure I had a picture of it. You can put in a picture and then it says the word.
mm,
You put in the card and it can say the word. And I find that children learn that. I'm not a big fan of putting children in front of TV or an iPad, but you have quite a few TV shows that can help. So what I would say, ensure that you're sitting with your child. I'm not a fan of YouTube Kids. I always tell parents, don't put your kids in front of YouTube Kids. Don't put them in front of TV whilst you're not there.
mm,
Let it be a learning opportunity, a bonding for both of you as well. So you want to show them, you want to do things with them that you're watching too, because you want to be able to nurture those things in them, right?
okay.
So flashcards are great. and modeling it with them too would also be very great.
Okay, thank you. We have a question that's come up in the chat. I'll read it out.
Please.
She says, my son says a lot of negative things. He has a lot of negative thoughts. He says things like, everyone hates me. I can jump down the building. He's 10. He also cries about nearly everything like a baby. How do I help him?
Right. So the first thing is to understand that he is struggling,
Mm,
right? So the one thing I would say is your reaction to that is very important here. Empathy will be the first thing that you need to build, is getting to a place where you say, really? Don't say, no, I've told you. You can't, right?
mm,
If he needs to see somebody, I think he does. He needs to
mm,
see someone, a therapist. And it needs to be someone that you've vetted, that is someone who is also has a lot of empathy. I'd rather he sees someone who understands your culture, whatever it is, because worldview matters a lot in these things as well. And I find that if he's feeling that way, it's because he genuinely feels that way. So you need to be able to sit with him. You need to be able to explain to him that you're there for him anyway. Open door policy. We love you. We love you. We're here. We see that you're struggling. Validate his feelings. We see that, I'm not sure if you said he. You see that,
yes, he is a
right?
son.
His
Yes.
feelings, right? How can we work through this together, right? Your partners, at that point, you're not his superior, mommy, right? You're saying you're really struggling and I see that you need help. So can we work through this together? Tell me what makes you feel that way. And even if it's something that is bad, you're not going to react to it like that. You're going to say, oh, because at this point, we're working towards helping that child to thrive, right? So whatever it is, you're going to calm down and say, how can we, so what do you think would help you feel better?
Mm,
Then, and coming from there, one by one, we begin to deal with the challenges. Do you think we
mm,
should see somebody about it? We're partners in this, right? Do you think we need to see somebody? Should we consider, getting help from somebody? Okay. Are you ready? Tell me when you're ready. Your partners, please, right? It's a vulnerable stage. Don't forget, some children start puberty quite early. And with the onset of puberty comes emotions. Their hormones are running crazy, right? It might be nothing, but it just might be something. So you don't want to say, well, he's just being a child. No, he's crying out for help and he needs that help right now.
mm. That's perfect. I like the part of that. That part of validating emotions is something that I, as a parent, am personally working on,
Yes.
try not to
Right.
be too reactive, to just walk through that. And the person that responded said, thank you. Feel free to unmute yourself and to ask questions. And there's another question in the chat. My question though is, what role does culture, especially our unique African culture, play in using some of these strategies that you shared?
Mm. We talked about this a little bit before we started, and it's huge. It's huge. And like, because we haven't learned it ourselves growing up, I don't know about you, but I didn't. Like I said, I grew up with anxiety. So I didn't know this. In fact, I diagnosed myself as I began to, as I got into mental health, I realized that, oh, those things I was feeling, makes sense. I could see, and which is why I was able to write this book and journal, because I saw my life and I thought if somebody had taught me these things as a young girl, I
Mm,
wouldn't be where I would have thrived much better than I did before. So when it comes to, just want to make sure I'm on track with regards to the question. I'm going to read it
yeah.
again very quickly. Um, with our unique African or Caribbean culture, some of these strategies, we have to educate ourselves as parents. If it's any
Mm,
particular one you're talking about, if it's, with the affirmations, I think for many of us who grew up in religious backgrounds, it's easier to do because we understand, speaking scripture, whatever religion you're from. But when it comes to things like sitting quietly, I don't know that Nigerians, for example, know how to sit down, take a break. We're all out, and when we arrive big, So it's training ourselves as parents and training our children and letting them see that I'm making the effort too.
mm,
So you're going to have to work through your own culture and your own upbringing to see areas where you need to make change. You need to break that cycle of
mm,
not showing emotion, especially men, I
mm,
find, almost not supposed to show emotion. Oh, we tell boys, you're a boy, don't cry. That's such a crazy thing to say. I don't know where it came from.
mm,
Boys, please cry because you have men who are so macho, they don't have emotions. And because they don't show emotions, even when it's necessary, they shut down. So please don't tell your boys not to cry. Don't tell your kids not to cry. Cry. When you finish, when you stop your crying, then let's talk about it. Their crying is a show, and never tell your children she's just looking for attention or she just wants a tantrum is not because they're trying to get your attention. There's something behind it. And even in the act of getting your attention, there's an emotion behind that, right? So let's deal with those things.
Thank you so much. You talked about culture. Have you watched Adolescence? While we're waiting for more questions, have you watched Adolescence on Netflix?
I
Oh,
haven't.
okay. Oh my goodness. Okay, that
I'm
means I
going
can't ask you. Let me not spoil it for you because it talks about the effect
No,
of
carry on. Don't worry.
smartphone effect. I know you've kind of hinted that you're not a big advocate of screens. So what's your own take, your personal take? Because our children right now, we're raising children that are always in front of the screen, either
Yes.
on their devices or TV and things like that. What's your advice on smartphone use?
Smartphone use. So a
Yeah.
child who is always on the screen is a child who is not interacting.
Mm,
As a child who, so the thing about screens, right? I'll start from the reason why they say that a child's brain, a baby's brain grows the fastest in the first 5 years of their lives is because they come into this world with small brains. And then the information, everything they see is new neural pathways in their brain. They're looking at that. Oh, polka dot. Oh, stripes. Oh, that. That's why you have those in the baby's cot. They have those things cot mobile or
mm,
something. They have colors and pictures and stripes and patterns. They're building, they're learning, right? Like I said before, the world is a huge mush of craziness. There's so much happening, so much happening. When you go to schools, right, and at closing time, the kids are there on their phone. They're not interacting. You put 5 boys in a room or 5 girls, they might just say hi. And then when it comes to phones, you need to know why you're giving your child a phone. Is it for contact, for communication, so I can get a hold of you when I need to? Right? If that's what it is, then there are phones that can do that without having that screen. If you need to give them the screen, give them the phone. Put before you give them, or if you're giving them already, you need to say, okay, can I have that phone back for a minute? We need to put some rules down.
choose.
I need the phone back in my room or back to me by 9 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever. Do not put it in your room,
Mm,
right? Little things like that. And in the morning, I give it back to you. You have to have some rules. Or no phones on Monday to Friday. You get it after school on Friday. You can choose to put some buffers around that, protecting the child. Because there's a lot of issues with what they can watch online, what they can, chat rooms and porn sites, and there's so many crazy things that you need to almost without policing them, but you want to help them and you need to be able to explain it to them. Remember, you're being a parent, you need to be able to parent your child, but
mm,
still be able to explain to them why you're making those accommodations. They're not rules, they're accommodations. I'm trying to protect you.
mm.
All right. I think
I think,
somebody's
yeah, someone put a comment, said even a smartwatch instead of a phone if you are worried about their safety
exactly.
as they get older.
Yes, my son has a smartwatch. He doesn't have a smartphone because I find that the stress of checking something on your phone is a lot of work. So
Mm,
we got him a smartwatch and we can text and he can text. And it helps.
mm.
I
And
found that it helped a lot better. And he felt like I can contact you if I needed to or tell you something. And I can track him if I need to track him. It was just easier.
Okay.
So that's it.
I'm also mindful of the fact that not just the smartphones, a lot of children, especially neurodivergent children, some of them use their tablets as AAC devices and things for communication and things like that. So I would imagine in such scenarios,
Of
if they are
course.
using that as for communication, they should use
Yes, of
that.
course.
Um,
For anything, even
mm,
if you can judge
mm,
based on your household and what you accommodate. My child needs this iPad because, but
mm,
you are the judge of that because you know what's best for your child,
mhm,
right? So there's no one can ever say to me or anybody and say you're not allowed to have
mm,
that. Some people need it. Some people need to have a phone to give their child a phone
mhm,
for a particular reason, and that's great.
mm.
As long as you've thought through it, you've looked at the pros and cons, and you've decided that this is what we need, and we can back it up. We can say this is how we're going to do it in our own family. I think that's
Okay.
okay. Yeah, that's
Oh,
okay.
sorry, I forgot. I'm going to stop the live stream because I really want people to be free to ask questions. So I'll